You saw the Giants' defense at the end. They had nothing left. They were gassed. It's a bad defense to begin with. And the bar is now so low for Carson Wentz that if you can beat the Giants with that and you need heroics at the end, Dan Orlovsky will come on TV and sing your praises. What happened? A couple of years ago through 13 weeks, I saw it with my own eyes. You and I were arguing. You said Tom Brady MVP. I said, Carson Wentz. Ooh, that was a long time ago.
Go ahead, Dan.
This is why, you have such a macro view of this that you can't be honest about the game. Run the clips back, because I'm going to talk to you as a quarterback, Will, when it comes to those throws that you want to kind of show that he's missing all these throws. The first one, his arm gets hit.
Here we go.
And he's
We
fading
got the
away.
clips for you, Dan, if you
arm
want to
gets
talk
hit
through
and he's fading away as he's getting. The second one, the corner's playing inside. If it's thrown inside the receiver, it's picked. He's throwing that ball there for a reason. The third one, this is a miss. Yeah, this is a missed throw for a 1-yard gain. The fourth one, this is a drop by Ertz. The defender's on his back. He's throwing it where only he can catch it. And the next one, the defender's on the guy's back. He's throwing it where the guy might be able to make a play. These are, as a quarterback, you can't just throw the ball anywhere to anybody and think, hey, you should have caught that.
Those were the incompletions, even the completions.
Max, but those are incompletions for reasons. There's reasons for those incompletions. You can't just cherry pick a throw and be like, wow, what a bad throw, because it was an incompletion. Second of all, you go into that game with 3 wide receivers, and none of them have been good this year. Alshon has not played well this year. Alshon goes down. So you got a guy that Arcega-Whiteside, who was, I think, a second or third round pick this year, who has not played good. He's had big-time struggles. And Greg Ward, who they think has got a future, but he was in the AAF. 5 months ago, the 2 receivers that played in this football game weren't in the NFL. His right tackle goes down. The stadium is booing him. Their team is dead, Max. They're dead.
And the
They're
Giants'
lifeless.
defense finally gassed.
They're lifeless.
A bad
and then
defense gassed.
in full Undertaker mode, he rises from the dead and puts the team on his back, Max.
There's one note I want you to pay attention to, Max.
Yeah.
If they lost one more receiver during that game, Josh McCown was going to enter the game as a
Peterson
receiver.
deserves blame, Molly, no doubt.
I don't think I've ever seen something like that in the NFL where, the decimation of injury happens. I understand. It's not about the Giants.
It was insane to go in with that number of
Stephen
receivers
A,
It's
to
about
begin
the
with.
circumstances.
First of all, Max Kellerman, it's interesting that you've refused to acknowledge this. Carson Wentz is 26 years old. He's got the same problem as that 42-year-old quarterback in Foxborough, the absence of weapons. You got guys that are injured. You've got guys that are not playing. You got guys that are dropping passes when they do play. I'm not trying to sit up here and say that Carson Wentz is having this great season. I'm not trying to say that he looks any better, that he looks better than he has in the past. That is not where I'm going. But you have to take into account the level of the level of resources that are available to him. No quarterback has ever been successful throwing it to themselves. It's never happened in the history of the National Football League. And if you've got guys that can't catch or ain't available or what have you, that's going to be it. This kid, Boston Scott, showed up, showed out. Rushed for about 59 yards, averaged more than 5 yards a carry running the football. Plus, he caught about 6 passes for 69 yards.
Yeah,
he was making plays. He was making plays himself. But if you look at their weapons, they're pretty much without any. Jeffries goes down with a foot injury. That's just the latest. Still had Zach Ertz, which ultimately propelled them to push the game into overtime and ultimately won it in overtime. To me, I'm not thinking about being impressed by Wentz because I didn't expect much from Wentz last night because I knew he didn't have weapons to rely upon. What I was looking for was what the Eagles' defense was going to do against a relatively stationary quarterback in Eli Manning. And this kid, Darby, is supposed to be their best corner, and he got eaten alive in the first half. Now, in the second half, they came to life, and they handled their business. But in that first half, to get eaten up for about 2 touchdowns, to give up about 150 yards received, I mean, it was embarrassing, a 35-yard touchdown pass, 55-yard touchdown pass. I did not see that coming. Eli Manning, everybody was raving about how he was looking. I know Joe Tessitore and Booger McFarland were going crazy about what they were seeing from Eli Manning, and then he came crashing down to earth, and we recognized and were reminded of the fact that he's 37, 38 years of age. You know, Father Time has arrived. He ain't what he used to be, etc. But I wasn't thinking about Wentz because when I look at the Eagles' offense, I see a team bereft of weapons.
You're right. By the way,
simple.
I'm not. Of course, that affects the quarterback. But forget about the weapons for a second. How about a throw where, the first big gain the first big gain that I can recall from the Eagles was a pass to Zach Ertz to pick up 24 yards.
On a scramble.
Yeah. That ball was as badly underthrown as you could throw a ball and still have a guy catch the ball. So there was no gain. So there's no gain after the play because of the way the ball was thrown.
What's the objective? To make sure he makes that catch.
But, oh, come on.
Have you ever been in that moment? Have you ever been in that moment where the guy is so wide open?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's one of the hardest throws because you can't miss. Like, you're like, I can't miss this. He's so wide open. Let me just make sure he catches it.
Yeah, he didn't lead him. He was an underthrown ball.
Max, I'm telling you, when you're out there and the guy's wide open, the only thought that goes through your head is like, just
let me ask you. Let me turn it around. Let me turn it around because you got excuses for everything with Wentz.
No, I have reasons, Max.
I am acknowledging an absence of weapons, sure, and I acknowledge that Peterson deserves blame too.
He deserves credit.
Let me ask you, what criticism do you have for Wentz from yesterday? You have any criticism for him?
No.
No. You can't find something to criticize Carson Wentz about yesterday. He needed overtime to beat the Giants.
Max, you're so hung up on the Giants. You can't say in one sentence, Max.
You can't find a criticism?
You can't say Max, you can't say in one situation, well, I'm aware of the lack of weapons, and then go, but he needed to beat the Giants. Yep. They're tied together. The lack of weapons are effective on the opponent. Here's my issue.
I didn't know Wentz had a perfect game. He threw a perfect game last night.
Perfect.
I said, do you have any criticism?
Perfect.
You said no.
I didn't say perfect. But what I said is, two things I will say is this. You've talked about and we've conversed about the fact that, like, he tries to do too much. He tries to be Superman. Last night, he had to not do that, and he did it. He had to do the small things and not put on the cape and not to try to do everything himself. And he finally did it. How come you can't sit here and go like, it was great maturity? But this is what I really want to pick apart by your comment, is you say, well, he was terrible, and I don't care what he did after. Like, great, he rose up when he needed to. That's sports, Max. Mm-hmm. Like, one of the
He gets credit for that part. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.